All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into something that's been hiding in plain sight in the world of medicine, one of the most misunderstood substances out there.
So let me ask you this. What if one of the oldest chemicals in medicine is also one of the most misunderstood? I mean, think about it. Something that's been around for almost 150 years, and maybe, just maybe, we've had it wrong the whole time. See, the thing is, it's not a vitamin. It's not a mineral. It's definitely not a typical drug. It just doesn't fit. It's something else entirely. It works on a level that kind of challenges how we think about medicine.
So, is it just a dye, or is there something more going on here? To really get it, we've got to go back to the beginning. Let's figure out how this simple blue dye ended up at the center of so much new research. Okay, here's the key. Methylene blue is what's called a redox active compound. Now, forget the blue color for a sec. Redox active is just a fancy way of saying it can grab an electron and then pass it along. It's like a tiny shuttle bus for electrons, right? And that simple action puts it smack dab in the middle of how your body makes energy. And believe me, this stuff is not new. We're talking 1876. That's when it was first made. And pretty soon after, doctors were using it for everything from a simple dye to see cells under a microscope to treating malaria and UTIs. It was a totally mainstream tool 100 years ago. And guess what? It's still FDA approved for specific things today. So here's the deal. Anything that has survived almost 150 years of medical use and scrutiny, well, it's not nonsense. It just isn't. Something that sticks around that long has to be doing something real. The big question, the one we're going to unpack, is what is it really doing? Okay, to really get methylene blue, we have to talk about the problem it's trying to solve. And this problem, it's a big one. It's a crisis happening inside every single one of your cells. It's what happens when the power starts to go out.
You know, we think energy is all about calories, right? But that's not the full picture. Down at the cellular level, real energy isn't about calories. It's about the flow of electrons. Think of it like electricity. When that flow is smooth and steady inside your mitochondria, your cellular power plants, everything's great. But when that flow gets blocked, that's when the lights start to flicker. And it's a total domino effect. First, that electron chain, the power line, gets damaged or just slows down. Step 2, your energy production. Your ATP just drops off a cliff. Then, your cells can't use oxygen properly, so they panic and switch to this really old, inefficient backup generator called fermentation. The final domino, inflammation goes up, and you've created the perfect environment for all sorts of diseases to take root.
So, you've got this broken power line. How do you fix it? Well, this is where methylene blue steps onto the stage. It's a unique solution to a really fundamental problem. Basically, methylene blue acts like an electrician's jumper cable. It's an alternative electron carrier. Remember how it can grab and pass off electrons? Well, it can literally pick up an electron before a broken part of the chain and just jump it over to the other side, dropping it off past the damage. It helps electrons bypass the roadblock. The best way to think of it is as a metabolic bridge. Seriously, that's the perfect way to picture it. It's not fixing the broken road, but it's building a bridge right over it so traffic can start moving again. It gets the whole system working more efficiently. Okay, so once that clicks, that it's all about improving energy efficiency at the cellular level, you start to see the bigger picture. You begin to understand why this old chemical keeps showing up in studies about some of our toughest diseases. It's about changing the very terrain of the disease. Let's talk about the brain. Your brain is an absolute energy hog. It uses a ridiculous amount of power. And here's the cool part. Methylene blue can cross the blood-brain barrier, which not a lot of things can do. So researchers are asking, hey, what if we could use this to boost the energy efficiency in our brain cells? That's exactly why it's being looked at for things like cognitive decline and neurodegeneration. Now, the cancer conversation is a really interesting one, and we have to be super clear here. The first approach, the one we all know, is to directly attack the tumor. But methylene blue represents a second approach, challenging the terrain. It doesn't kill cancer cells. Instead, it changes the environment. Remember that low oxygen, fermentation-heavy state we talked about? Well, cancer loves that. By helping cells use oxygen better, methylene blue makes the whole neighborhood a much worse place for cancer to live. So all of this sounds pretty amazing, right? Which leads to the big, obvious question. If this stuff has been around forever and does all this, why isn't it a blockbuster drug? Why isn't everyone talking about it?
Well, the answer is it's just not a profitable solution. There's a commercial problem. First off, it's old, it's super cheap, the patent ran out decades and decades ago, and it breaks the biggest rule of modern drug development. It doesn't just hit one specific target, it works systemically. It improves function, and you know what? It's a lot harder to make money improving general function than it is selling a drug that treats a specific symptom.
And this is so important to understand. It wasn't banned, it wasn't pushed aside because it was dangerous. I mean, it's still FDA approved for things like methylhemoglobinemia, a serious blood disorder. No, it was just compartmentalized. It was tucked away into these little corners of medicine because it just didn't make financial sense to turn it into a blockbuster. So, what's the real takeaway here? What does all this mean? It's that methylene blue is more than just a chemical. It's a way of thinking. It's a concept that shows us the real efficiency of health. It all comes down to this quote: disease is not just damage, it is energy failure. Think about that. We're so used to thinking of disease as something to attack, something to cut out. But what if a lot of it is just an energy crisis at the cellular level? Look, methylene blue is not some magic bullet. It's a metabolic tool. And tools like this are powerful because they reveal uncomfortable truths about how our bodies actually work. They show us that the real goal isn't just treating symptoms, but restoring the fundamental efficiency of the system. And maybe that's the thing to really chew on. In this age of super specific high-tech drugs, what if the most radical medicine of all is something that just helps our bodies be more efficient? Something that helps them do the job they were already designed to do? Because sometimes efficiency is the most radical medicine of all.